Okay, we got our players of the week from Grant Gordon, NFL.com digital content producer. So for week 11, our players of the week, we'll start with offensive players of the week. So for the AFC, we have Deshaun Watson. He had 344 passing yards. He had two passing TDs, rushing TD at a 121.9 passer rating, and he had a 75.7% completion percentage. And for the NFC, Robert Woods took home that award. He had 12 catches, 130 yards, and a touchdown. So, Nate, your thoughts on this?
Um, well, Robert Woods played amazing. Both guys played amazing. I actually thought Justin Herbert would win AFC Player of the Week. In my opinion, I think he just played the better game. He had the better game. But I mean, Deshaun Watson played really well too. Let me go back to Justin Herbert's stats from Week 11. He went 37 for 49, 366 yards, 3 touchdowns. That calls for Player of the Week as well. But I guess Deshaun Watson played better, which I'm not mad about. I'm not mad. I just thought Justin Herbert would win it again because he's Justin Herbert. But overall, I'm not too mad at it.
Yeah, I agree. I think Justin Herbert had a better game. He obviously got a win. So, that's something. No interceptions. I think he really did good. As for the NFC, honestly, if you were to ask me, I believe that, I hate to say it, but I think Amari Cooper should have won that award. And I know he beat my Cowboys, and I'm not sure, you know what I'm saying?
You mean your Vikings?
My Vikings. Yeah, I'm sorry. Why did I say my Cowboys? The day I'd be a Cowboys fan, but look, um, but I really think Amari Cooper should have had it over him. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong guy. I'm sorry. Amari Cooper didn't do enough, but I'm sorry. It's been a long day, but then all right, then never mind. Because I thought Amari had like 140 something yards. I guess I'm bugging, but with that being said, since he didn't, hey, Robert Woods. Congratulations to him. I think he earned it. As for the AFC though, I can see where you're coming from. I think Justin Herbert definitely should have got that award. He got the win. He had the same amount of touchdowns. He had I think more yards. I think he had probably maybe a better completion percentage. I personally think he should have got that.
Yeah,
I
I agree
personally
with that.
got an award. So anyway, we'll move on to the defense. So for AFC Defensive Player of the Week, we have Oliver Vernon. He had 3 sacks. He had one of those sacks for a safety. He had 5 tackles and 1 pass defended. And for the NFC Defensive Player of the Week, we had Brian Burns. He had 5 tackles, 2 sacks,
Boy,
loss, and a pass defend. So Nate, your thoughts on
let me
them?
tell you something about Brian Burns. All right, he is the most underrated defensive player, and not the most, but one of the most underrated defensive players in the entire league. This man comes in the league, and he's just playing off for a rebuilding Carolina Panthers team. That's my Panthers. They're rebuilding. They're nothing right now, but he's doing his own on defense. And remember, that defense isn't that good. That said, he's doing his job and he's doing it well. I think this is well learned by Brian Burns. He's going to become a threat on defense in the years to come. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah, it was a good performance by him. And as for Oliver Vernon, I think he was a big reason why the Cleveland Browns won that game. You also got to remember that was a very close game between him and the Philadelphia Eagles. It came down to a
Uncomfortably close.
And I think if it wasn't for his defensive efforts, I don't think that the Cleveland Browns win that game. But I honestly think there could be some guys who you could put above Brian Burns. I think there are some guys, and I'm gonna be honest. So I think Jordan Fuller, the safety for the Rams, I think you can make a case for him. He had the two
like a couple
interceptions.
interceptions. Yeah.
Right. He had the 2 interceptions, 43 yards. He had 4 tackles that game. He didn't have the sack, so it was all dependent on what they valued more between the pressures of the quarterback or the turnovers. As for AFC, again, you can also argue it with the 2 Steelers guys that also had 2 picks, whether it was Minka or Terrell Edmonds. You can argue them, but they didn't have the taps to go with it. And so again, I think this week they valued mostly, pressuring the quarterback and the tackles that you got, which is fine. I ain't got no problem with that. But I really don't have a problem with any of it. I believe there are a lot of cases that you can make this week so far, but honestly, I really don't have any problems with them. And as for special teams, we got for the AFC Special Team Player of the Week, we have Rodrigo Blankenship, who you had as one of your winners, I think.
Yeah, he was.
He had 4 field goals, he had 2 extra points, and that's a total of 14 points in that win against the Green Bay Packers. And Tress Way, the punter for the Washington football team, he had an average punt of 50.4 yards. That was his average of punting. His net was 46.6. He had 5 punts, and 3 of those punts were inside the 20. So Nate, your thoughts?
Well, obviously, like you said, Rodrigo Blankenship was obviously one of my winners this week, and it's well earned 4 field goals, 2 extra points and 14 points, and one of those field goals was the game winner to put the Packers back in Green Bay with that loss. So I mean, that's a very well deserved win by him. That's something ever since Pat McAfee left the Colts that they've been looking for a kicker, and they've seen this man. He's proven that he's the next punter for them, the next kicker, doing himself a good job. And obviously we also know that Adam Vinatieri wasn't an answer either.
Hang on, I'll correct you right here because he's not a punter, so he's really not a replacement for Pat McAfee. He is a replacement for Adam Vinatieri.
Oh, that's what I meant to say. My bad. Yeah, my bad.
He doesn't punt. He doesn't punt, but he is a kicker. I know a little bit about him. I remember him in Georgia. He one thing about him that a lot of people don't know is in Georgia he was a 4.0 GPA. He had a 4.0 GPA. He was one of the best, smartest players on there.
I wonder why he looks like a nerd on the field. Hey, I'm not judging. He's better at football than I am.
Yeah, but look, right? He's a leading scorer in the NFL. So I mean, we gotta give him some type of credit. We gotta give him some type of credit. And a lot of rookie kickers, it's really tough, because you never know how they're gonna be. But obviously, he's proven his worth. Now, as for Tress Way, I mean, putting 3 punts inside the 20 out of your 5. I mean, that really does change the game. People don't understand how important special teams are to a game. Just where that ball lands and just where that open and return goes could determine the score. Of that play. You know what I'm saying, or of that drive. So you never know. So with that being said, I think those two definitely deserved it, and those are our players of the week. Now before we end it, we'll go by. Let me ask you the question of who you think had a better week between offensive, defensive, and special teams. So we'll start with the offense. Do you believe that Deshaun Watson's performance was better, or do you believe that Robert Woods' performance was better?
I think Deshaun Watson's performance was a little better, if I'm being honest with you.
I agree with that. And the reason why is not because he's a quarterback or anything like that, but the reason why I believe it was better is because they needed him to come out there against the Patriots, and this was a game where it was a win he needs to win. And now after the slow start that the Texans had, now every game is basically a must win. And the Patriots are riding that wave by beating the Ravens, and then the Texans came in and said, "Well, we're going to make sure that wave goes, that wave, it
dies."
Exactly, it dies. So he came in, he shut down the Patriots' defensive momentum because they were a pretty decent defensive team, good defensive team coming in. Maybe offensively, maybe not, but defensively they were. And he came in there and he shut that defense down. Robbins had a good game too. I'm getting nothing away from him, but they also got to remember they also Cooper Kupp, who also had 100+ yards receiving as well, and that was a very pass heavy game. But I think Deshaun Watson had a better game. So for the defense, who do you think had a better game between Oliver Vernon and Brian Burns?
As much as I want to say Brian Burns, I think Oliver Vernon had a better game. 3 sacks, one for safety, 5 tackles, and 1 pass defended. Brian Burns had a couple of tackles. He had a couple of sacks, but he just didn't have as many sacks as Oliver Vernon. So I got to give my credit to Oliver Vernon.
Right, and I believe that because of how close that score was with the Cleveland Browns and the Philadelphia Eagles, I believe that every play was more significant when Oliver Vernon made it opposed to Brian Burns. I'm not saying that Brian Burns' plays weren't significant because obviously that defense shut down the Lions, but there was more factors on that team besides Brian Burns. And I think that Oliver Vernon's 3 sacks really helped the Browns stay in that game against the Philadelphia Eagles, especially that safety. Those are 2 points right there. So go from a 7-point game to what possibly could have been a 5-point game if he didn't get that sack. Well, no, sorry, what could have been a 9-point game. No. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm being dumb. What could have been a 5-point game if he didn't get that sack because they did win. So you take away 2 points and it turns in. So with that being said, honestly, Oliver Vernon, I feel like he did, not only did he do just a little bit more than Brian Burns, but I also feel like what he did was a lot more significant. And I feel like every play that he made, it had to be made in order for the Cleveland Browns to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. And last but not least, the special teamers, Rodrigo Blankenship or Tress Way. Who do you think had a better game?
This one's a little tougher because, like you said, punting over 50 yards ain't that easy. Right. But at the same time, 4 field goals, two extra points and 14 points in the entire game is also not easy to do, especially when one of those field goals was the game winner. So I might have to go with Rodrigo on this one, man.
Here's what I'll say because it is really tough.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go Rodrigo too, only for similar reasons with Oliver Vernon, because Washington won 20-9, and a big part of that I feel like really was Tress Way because he was probably putting them in bad. He was probably putting the Cincinnati Bengals in bad position to lose that game. We also got to remember Joe Burrow got hurt, and that was a big factor too. So, but I got to give it to Rodrigo Blankenship because not only did he kick the game winner against Green Bay, not only did he have 14 points out of the 31 out of the 31 or 34. I believe it was 34-31. 34-31, right?
yeah, 34-31, yeah.
Yeah, he had a good 14 out of the 34 that were points that they scored, and I believe that was a big part of the Colts win. And he did have that missed field goal, but again, he made 4 others. So I mean, I think Rodrigo Blankenship, I think everything that he did, again, I think it was more significant. I think it had more of a significant value than what Tress Way did. But hey, both of them played very well, and I think that was a very tough. And I think that this is a solid list overall for this week.
Absolutely.